Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Cafe. It's always a pleasure to have you joining us. My name is Linda Alala, and it is time that we take you through the day, or we kickstart your day on a very good note, updating you on what is happening in the world of news, importantly entertaining you and enlightening you. Some bit of education today on the second lapse, or the second to last lapse, that is the 8 to 9 p.m. a.m. Sorry, that is the 8 to 9 a.m. segment, where we'll be taking you through some, bit of mind and mental games, or mind and mental, lessons, and we'll also be teaching you on how best you can ensure that you advertise your business online, because everyone is moving online, especially at this time of the pandemic where there are no movements, physical shops, no. So it's important that you learn how best you can go out there and sell your product, go out there and advertise your product, and still make a kill despite the fact that you could be at home or you are selling at the comfort of wherever you are. So karibu sana. As always, it's a pleasure to have you joining us, and importantly, interact with us. Hashtag Morning Cafe. Drop those comments. Let's get to see what questions you have for us or for the panel, and we'll get to answer them in regards to the issues that we'll be discussing and even much more. And also at Linda_Lela is my Twitter handle, at TV47. You can drop your comments there and we get to sample them as we proceed. For those who are streaming online, that is on Facebook, on TV47.co.ke, or on YouTube, you can as well drop those messages, or those messages will be going through them as we proceed. So once again, I say karibu sana, and we kick off with the stories that have been prepared by my team. I'll be having Dr. Justice Juma joining me, so we can go through these stories together, and also the stories that are captured on the newspapers. So we start off on some bit of a sad note, as 41 staff members from the Pumwani Maternity Hospital have been confirmed to have contracted COVID-19 during his visit at the hospital earlier yesterday. Director General of Health, Dr. Patrick Amott, says that 19 of these, or those infected, are healthcare workers, and the remaining 22 are from the support staff team, as Zainab Mohammed has the details.
Just a day after Kenya National Union of Nurses announced that 15 nurses had contracted COVID-19 at the Pumwani Maternity Hospital, the government has come out to confirm those claims, saying the total number of infections at the hospital is now at 41 staff members, 19 being health workers and 22 support staff.
There's a remaining batch of about 100 staff members to be tested. Out of the 290 who are tested, 41 turned positive. All these 41 have been on home-based isolation. 2 actually have been discharged from home-based isolation care. And the remaining 39 are doing well. Nobody has gone to hospital for care. And we are hopeful that they'll be able to pull through without developing any symptoms of COVID.
In his visit at the hospital, Director General of Health Dr. Patrick Amott, however, said the hospital will not be shut down, but some of its services will be scaled down to contain the spread of the virus.
Generally, to see the measures that the hospital has put in place: 1, to stop further transmission of the infection, and 2, to support the healthcare workers who have been affected in one way or the other during this difficult period.
So this to assure the members of public that Pumwani is not closed, because the percentage of those who are positive was very low. But what we have done is we have scaled down the services.
The government is now appealing to health workers to follow the containment measures and guidelines to the letter in order to fully protect themselves from contracting the virus. This as the number of healthcare workers in the country who have contracted the virus rises to 450.
And my final appeal to healthcare workers is, don't leave anything to chance. Please implement to the letter the information that you get from the case management team, from the infection prevention control team, so that you're not only safe for yourself, but safe to serve another Kenyan who may unfortunately come up with COVID-19.
Amoth Father says 416 out of the 450 healthcare workers who have tested positive for COVID-19 do not have any underlying conditions, with 16 having hypertension, 6 with asthma, 3 with diabetes, and 5 with HIV and AIDS.
I think that could be working in our favor is, of course, our demographic profile. These are very young people. Out of these 450, 414 don't have any underlying problem. No wonder most of them are asymptomatic and they qualify for home-based care.
Elsewhere, the Kenya National Union of Nurses has come out to complain about the inadequacy of personal protective gears in most hospitals across the country, a matter they say is putting frontline healthcare workers at risk during this pandemic.
Personal protective equipment can only be seen to be there when they are protecting our workers, our members. But they cannot seem to be there because somebody in other house is shouting and taking tea of 4 million shillings in a day.
For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
And still on matters COVID-19, the country has recorded 497 new COVID-19 cases as of yesterday, pushing the numbers to 10,791. Meanwhile, the government says that 199 COVID-19 cases have already undergone intensive care unit management since March this year, as Mohammed Ali reports.
3 of the 12 Kenyans who succumbed to COVID-19 yesterday died at home, but not under home-based care, the government has said.
These are community deaths, but these are community deaths not from home-based care clients. We told you that for home-based care, we are using a very judicious and cautious approach to ensure that those who go for home-based care actually qualify for home-based care and will undergo home-based care throughout the 14-day period.
Meanwhile, the government says coronavirus is a systemic disease that can affect the heart, the kidney, and the blood system, and does not only cause chest problems.
New evidence is emerging from across the world that this disease is actually a systemic disease, a disease that has effects on your heart, a disease that has effects on your kidneys, a disease that has effects when it comes to the clotting of your blood and the coagulation of your blood.
The country has recorded 497 new cases, with Nairobi and Kiambu recording 292 and 62 cases respectively, as the numbers continue to rise.
The behavior by some of our people in different ways, exemplified in different ways. We've seen people taking pictures, recording videos of ambulances and vehicles ferrying patients. We've received several social media forwards of people, depicting COVID-19 as a cause of different events in the community. And worse still, we've seen people even sharing pictures and videos of COVID-19 patients. And this has ended up leading to profiling of the infected people. And it's important that we know that this is highly unacceptable.
Mohammed Ali, TV47.
And we take a look at the People Daily. Dr. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, that's Dr. Justice Juma joining us this morning to expand some more on what has been captured on the newspapers and also the stories that we have. And I think we'll go with that very one, or the two that we've looked at, that is on COVID-19. And of course, the cases as registered as of yesterday, we have mentioned them. But there's this story that has been captured right here on the front page. It's actually the main story of the People Daily. And it's a cry for help as 429 medics are infected, and more or less a red flag, as health workers unions are now warning that crisis brought about by coronavirus pandemic is getting out of hand, and of course with chronic understanding and inadequate PPEs compounding the problem. Captured on page 6 or expounded on page 6, and also the numbers are captured right here in terms of what we had recorded as of yesterday, 479. And out of samples that were taken, that is 4,992 samples. And also captured on page 7, pre-existing conditions talk corona patients. I mean, it looks like the numbers are going up and up by the day, pretty much unfortunate, and all these occurrences. I mean, what do you make of them?
Well, it's a challenge that is manifesting the preparedness, especially how we equipped our medics, who in this case actually our forefront soldiers in fighting this war. And we did raise this a while ago, that the best way to defeat this thing is to put our best foot forward and invest in the appropriate areas. In the essential for health, normally it begins from the primary basic, and then secondary basic, and the tertiary level. And in the primary basic, this is where we focus on in the community. And then at the secondary level, this is where we focus on the isolation center, the medics, the health facilities. Then at the tertiary level, that is the critical level where we focus on the ICUs and the high dependency union where the units where we are taking care of serious patients. And in our case, the cry that the medics were crying out earlier was that they ought to have been equipped with proper PPEs. And the fact that they're getting infected is very questionable. And that actually is also alarming alarming the entire nation, because if the doctors are that vulnerable, then how about citizens? Yeah. Because how well can we be prepared if the doctor themselves are not effectively prepared? So I think, yes, we need to review our approach, especially the Ministry of Health and the government entirely. And I urge the doctors to be more vigilant, and congratulations even to those who are fighting to a point of losing their life. It's so commendable. These are the heroes that we need to actually bring to light, because people who have literally laid down their life to fight this pandemic, those are serious Kenyans who actually needs to be congratulated, be commended, be supported. And I urge the government to do the best we can. If we cannot equip them, I remember police were outside there controlling people and they did not have proper PPEs. Now doctors again have been on the cry. So I think, yes, that cry needs to be heard. They need to be supported if we truly are to defeat this thing. Because the moment even the doctors become afraid, then definitely we will begin to lose the battle, and we cannot afford to lose this war at this stage that we've reached.
All right. Well, this comes amid the medics faulting the Ministry of Health on the proposed law, and the union leaders claim that proposed amendments to the current health laws amid a fledgling war against COVID-19, that the ministry has lost focus and the country should be prepared for the worst. And even as Mohammed Duba said, the proposal to remove professional associations from the councils amounts to gagging the voice of the health professional or the health professionals. And it's pretty much unfortunate. These are the numbers that we are talking about. And like it is, when it comes, it's from the horse's mouth. Those are the medics themselves saying that we should prepare ourselves for the worst. I think, there's cause for worry, and that is what we'll be discussing this morning. And we ask this question: should we prepare ourselves for a lockdown? And there are likelihoods that we're going to proceed to a lockdown. Of course, we're not trying to prophesy doom, but from the projections that we are having, it is pretty much unfortunate. Keep sending those messages, and we'll be looking at that as we proceed. Now to a different story. Matatu operators have been forced to comply with the directives issued by the Ministry of Health by acquiring a certificate before resuming services. This comes a week after the cessation of movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera counties was lifted, as Eli Lugova now reports.
Normalcy in the transport sector is yet to resume, a week after restriction of movement in and out of Nairobi, Mombasa and Mandera counties was lifted. For a few PSV companies that have complied to the Ministry of Health regulations, operations have not resumed normally, as only a few Kenyans are willing to travel.
We have a letter from the Ministry of Health, and we have a letter from the county government, so which we had to show. We had to fumigate our buses to ensure that they are free from the virus. That one we did when we were on the lockdown. So we have all those papers.
Among the guidelines to be observed include all PSVs to regulate number of passengers, to keep data of all passengers, ensure all vehicles and luggage are regularly fumigated, and ensuring all drivers are tested and certified. With the few people traveling, many of these companies have scaled down their operations by reducing the number of fleet operating daily. This means commuters will dig deeper into their pockets as the fares have been increased.
So we are hoping that we are going to operate smoothly, but as pertains what we were doing before the lockdown, we used to do like 30 departures per day, but right now we are doing like this morning, because of the curfew, we are doing only the morning hours. We are doing like 10 departures to various destinations.
Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, and with life slowly starting to get back to normalcy, domestic passenger flights are expected to resume as from today, and that is the 15th. The resumption comes after the government lifted the ban on air travel due to COVID-19, but it will not be business as usual as the reopening comes with strict measures. Our reporter Nancy Kimuyu gives us the details.
Airports in the country are acting in preparedness and are ready to resume services after a 4-month paralysis due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Kenya Airways has put up measures to help their clientele against catching the novel coronavirus. They intend to have at least one temperature check at the airport and frequent sanitizing of surfaces and touch points. The cabin crew will be in full PPE gear and will offer an enhanced on-board service. Those who enjoy taking meals in the plane will have a difficult time as no meals will be served on board. There will be different hand washing stations and passengers will be required to stand 1 meter apart as they wait to get their services. The airline also advises its passengers to play their part in mitigating the spread of COVID-19 by checking in online and wearing a face mask at all times at the airport and on board. It is the beginning of a long journey back to normalcy, with the hope that there will be an economical boost in the aviation industry and safe flights for passengers. Social distancing in the plane is still a twisted jargon for many airlines. Reporting for TV47, I'm Nancy Kimuyu.
And on matters of transport, there is a story that has been captured on the front page of the People Daily and expounded some more on page 2. And here we are on how much it's going to be tough and times ahead as the levy pushes up pump prices. And this story is also what will be forming a basis of the conversation this morning also. But let's just have Dr. weigh in on it. And according to people or the pundits, they say that the move puts to an end a price drop in the global markets as a result of a slump in demand caused by the coronavirus pandemic. So Kenyans will have to dig deeper into their pockets to buy fuel following, of course, the steep increased petroleum prices that were announced yesterday. In a monthly review, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced that the maximum pump prices for super petrol, diesel and kerosene in Nairobi had risen by 11.38 shillings, 17.30 and 2.98 per litre respectively. And Dr. it's just the other day that we had a review downwards, so to speak, but here again we have a review upwards. And now that we are talking about matters transport, which is key, we know that a majority of Kenyans highly depend on public transport, and already the prices are high courtesy of COVID-19. And when we see that the pump prices again go high, this would mean again there's more that they'll need to give out. Where does it place us and what does it mean, knowing that very well this is not just a problem in the country but indeed a global issue?
Actually, it's a huge hit on the citizen because it go against the expectation that the citizen needed to actually help them combat this menace. It's coming at a point when other governments. Like in our neighborhood, Uganda, you're aware that Uganda has hardly experienced COVID deaths.
Yeah.
Because of the measures that they put in place. Globally, the other states which have also gone ahead and provided better social reliefs, which actually have mitigated the pressure for citizens to not expose themselves in crowded areas, and also individually help in fighting these menace. And what the government needed to do at this moment was to look at this thing now and in future. Now and in future was, because future calls for protection of the economy and protection of jobs. And for now, yes, we can fight it. Of course, we're not just fighting for bio-life, but we're also fighting for way of life. So how possible could we fight in a manner that we can sustain our way of life? We can also fight so that, we can also fight in a manner that we don't lose life, but provide also mitigative measures that sustain the economy. Currently, if you look at the status that our country is in, Kenya may experience a terrible, terrible economic depression that we've never experienced. And the concession measures, because the loss of the jobs that we experienced the last few months, Linda, is enormous.
Yeah.
And if we continue in this trajectory, then yes, we are going to continue seeing a major loss of life. You're going to continue to see more depression, more suicides. You've seen families breaking apart, and jobs are closing. And the measures that were required to help sustain and protect jobs, one of them were actually to reduce the cost of production, which is directly affected, especially by fuel. Because globally, fuel right now is below $1. Why Kenya has refused to go downwards and review further downwards to bring that ease for, especially in the transport sector. These are individuals who have not been working. These are individuals whose revenues actually have been reduced. The number that they used to carry, now they are carrying less. So if you ask these individuals, again, to pay for extra charges, sometimes it amounts to like a daylight robbery. If you were to require them to help you fight the pandemic, I think the government should provide these licenses at no cost. They should not be charged again if indeed we need to make a sustainable impact. The transport sector should be actually the over and above tax holiday on matters that are affecting them, since they're already generating half the normal income. And remember, these guys are also on loans. However much they can negotiate loan holidays with the banks, but those periods will still be paid. So in one way or the other, they are paying those loans. These guys are paying expenses, they're paying rents, they're paying taxes, and they're still required again to go back into their pockets and pay for additional certificates. Even the hotels, why require them? Why ask them to pay more? Make this certification free and affordable, so that compliance can be easy in the spirit of protecting jobs. Because the further we lose more jobs, the worse our economic status. And with the terrible economic status, actually our competitiveness within the region or globally will be wanting, and that will expose the country again. Yes, Linda.
Okay, well, and we wait to see how that will play out. But indeed, like we said, pretty much an unfortunate occurrence. And now crossing over to the counties, and counties will use the second generation formula to share the 316.6 billion shillings in the 2020-2021 financial year. The disputed formula will take effect in the next financial year, but will be passed this Friday. Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
which they had last year. The proposal was that we then suspend the implementation of this one by 1 year, so that what happens then is all the counties keep the money at the same level as they had last year for purposes of budgeting, and then now this new formula kicks in the year 2021.
In the proposed third-generation formula, 18 counties would have lost over 42 billion shillings. The second-generation formula, which was passed in the year 2012, was to serve for 3 financial years, with the current financial year being the last one. The formula saw a reduction on the basis for poverty index from 20% to 18%. And with the third-generation formula, Nandi County would have been the biggest gainer with an extra 1.2 billion shillings, while Mandera County would have been the biggest loser with about 2 billion shillings.
My problem was with members wanting to affect, or influence, emotions on people, that we are being targeted, we are marginalized, or we are this and that, which, now the population thinks that there is a scheme through a formula to marginalize anybody. So they're saying, okay, so which formula now will not marginalize you? You give us a formula, okay? Instead of just letting people sympathize out there. So what is the formula?
18 senators from the affected counties had vowed to oppose the proposed formula.
Simple argument is that if you come from a place that is sparsely populated, those people also require services, and they have to walk longer distances for them to reach services. So we want to reduce the amount of distance that they would move for them to get services.
Taita Taveta County, for example, would have lost at least 400 million shillings in the proposed formula.
Let's just go by the second generation formula up to and until that time when there are more resources, so that no county loses money. Counties have already done the budgets. Wamefanya budget zao tayari. And they have done even their appropriation bills. Na zimepita tayari. How do you tell them now we'll give you 2 billion less?
The Senate is said to have a special sitting this week, which will see the formula pass. Elizabeth Matuku, TV47 Nairobi.
All right, and just to couple that with this story here, on the People Daily, page 13, counties inherited 57 billion debts from the defunct council's report. And this is according to CS Wamalwa, who says the state agency had identified 62,342 parcels of land, over 70,000 buildings, and 2,600 cars previously owned by the defunct civic authorities. This is according to Devolution Cabinet Secretary CS Eugene Wamalwa. Well, we talk about matters, corruption at the level of the county, and looking at the allocation of funds. There's been a stalemate for a while, but looks like they have found a truce that maybe would not augur well with some of the senators, but I guess they were forced to take a chill pill or a humble pie. But where does it place the counties? Remember, some of them argue that if you proceed to award the counties something that is insufficient, then you will certainly expect insufficient delivery at that point of the respective counties. Dr. I'm you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Linda.
Yes.
Actually, I have always advised a member of parliament to think globally if they act locally. Because when you're looking at the revenue allocation, the formula that we're discussing actually is clearly spelled out in our constitution, in Article 201 and Article 202, which was informed by the historical injustices. You remember the departure between the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and Kenyatta, the founding president of Kenya, was on the basis of marginalization, where economic allocation was done on bias, especially tribal bias. And to date, those gaps have not been we've not filled those gaps. And if you also revisit the spirit of BBI, and to me, this is a clear message being sent to the other partners or the members of BBI team, whether they are really going to implement the BBI report or is something that is also going to land up in a shelf. And to me, this is a message that speaks a negative philosophy against nationalization and unity, and also addressing the past injustices. Because to date, even Linda, if I use simple example like national libraries, in Nairobi we may have national libraries, but visit other counties. You go to just even Kitui here, there's no even a library where people can step in to study. If you can visit the Presidential Delivery Unit website, look at the accomplished projects. Most of the projects, they are within specific geographical location. Just the other day, we questioned why a fish project can set its headquarters in Nyeri, not in Mombasa, and not in Kisumu, where the communities, the populace, the human resource are actually individuals who understand the fishing project. So this biased allocation of resources is what informed Equalization Fund and set out certain criteria that was to be used in revenue allocation. And the moment they're reverting it to one man, one vote, which is okay, that is something that we can discuss if there was equity. But the moment that we are not having equity, those who are talking about the population being more vis-a-vis the other geographical location with the minimum population, they are forgetting that those other population went down, they died, they suffered because of marginalization. And this is why our constitution took cognizance of affirmative action to help this geographical location to come to power. So I think the philosophy behind this new revenue allocation formula, it is taking us back into the dark days, and it is going to cause, because those were the things that led to perennial shed of blood due to tribes feeling that they're not well appreciated, they're not well taken care of, and others feel more special than the others. Those are the things that led to ethnic cleansing, and we needed to to cure this. And instead of curing this, some people who are thinking locally, acting locally, very myopic in their understanding, because this is a force that is being pushed. And we questioned when the census reports were coming out. Some of us questioned the verifiability of the census report, because census are used to allocate revenue. And now we can see the intention of and we suspect highly that some of the census were doctored to raise up certain population numbers in certain regions for purposes of this initiative that the intention that they are now pushing right now. And this is dangerous. If Kenya goes in this direction, Linda, I tell you, this is a part that we need to avoid. Whether they are trying to calculatively say that it will take effect in the next 1 year, this is something that is going to be reviewed. This is something that is going to remain contentious, and this is something that might not see the light of the day.
All right. Speaking of which, it looks like you're speaking in the same tone with the support with the ODM members and also, MPs or legislatures allied to Deputy President William Ruto, as captured on the Standard newspaper. And the biggest story say that Raila Ruto fight Uhuru cash plan, the unlikely alliance, a new formula for sharing 316 billion among counties supported by the president is facing a stiff resistance in the Senate from allies of Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga, as captured on page 10. We won't be going into details of the same, but then again, of course, as Kithiki Kindure, they are weighing in, and also Senator that is James Orengo, in regards to the same, who are not in agreement to this proposed aspect of sharing the revenue. We can only wait to see if this is done and dusted. Of course, we see to it whether it's going to do justice to some of these counties, as Liz Mutuku has taken us through the breakdown on who would have been the losers or who are the gainers on this particular one. And now moving on to a different story. National Assembly Majority Leader Amos Kimunya is today expected to table the changes in various House committees, replaced recently discharged William Ruto's allies, and former Majority Leader Eden Duale is the only Ruto ally who is likely to get a powerful House committee as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Josh Ansari reports.
The changes in House committees are expected to be tabled in the National Assembly Wednesday. The changes will see Kangema MP Muturi Kigano takes up the chairmanship of the Justice and Legal Committee. Kigano takes over from William Cheptumo, who was discharged. ODM's Otiende Amolo will deputize Kigano, though the Orange Party wanted the chairmanship of the committee.
Let me be very clear, and I want to advise the President against allowing appointment of minority members of parliament into the positions that we who are in the majority lost. They were taken away. We are not satisfied about the reasons. There were no reasons given.
Kieni legislator Kanini Kega and defender of President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to take over the budget committee from his Kikuyu counterpart Kimani Ichung'wa. Ichung'wa is among the 16 MPs who were discharged from House committees and has been moved to a less powerful committee of House Welfare. Former Majority Leader Aden Duale is expected to take up the membership in the powerful Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. Duale is the only MP among the Deputy President William Ruto's allies who has been given an influential docket. The reconstituted list, compiled by Majority Leader Amos Kimunya and Minority Leader John Mbadi, MPs Gladys Sholei, Moses Kuria and Benjamin Washiali, have been replaced in their previous committees. Gatondo South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria will be a member in the Implementation Committee, while Washiali will serve in the Broadcasting Committee, and Sholei is expected to be placed in the House Rules and Procedures Committee. ODM's Gladys Wanga and Florence Mtua will chair Finance and Education Committees respectively. Langata MP Nixon Korir and Joyce Koril will serve in the Member Service Committee. The Deputy President William Ruto's allies David Kosing and William Kisang are likely to survive the purge and retain their positions as Transport and ICT committees respectively. The two are said to have a good working relationship with Transport CS James Masharia and ICT CS Joe Musheru. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, coupling that report by Onsari and Uhuru allies now want Kusitani expelled over indiscipline. Move follows a demand by the Soy Member of Parliament that he be furnished with the Jubilee Party's book of account for last 4 years. And Caleb Kusitani is demanding for the Jubilee Party approved budget to financial year 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2019-2020. The MP is also asking for all approved procurement records, reports, and all committee minutes for the 5 financial year. He also wants the certified bank accounts of the party accounts. This is a move that has gotten him to that point where some of his members, or some of the members of the Jubilee Party that is allied to Kieleweke, argue that this is not a good move, and probably there needs to be a move of pushing him out of this. And I'll just loop in Daktari, now that you are a party leader, and a lot of confusion when it comes to sharing of revenue within the party, within coalitions. I mean, what always is the criteria, and who is supposed to be privy to the information on how accounts and monies are being used at the level of the county? Oh, sorry, not the county, at the level of the party.
Exactly. I saw a response letter to that request by the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party. And I think he just ended up calling his deputy secretary a Mongolian, and
yeah,
and stated that the reports are in the public domain. You can go in the website or visit ORPP's office or visit Office of Auditor General. But to weigh in on just the previous clip you ran on the alliance of the handshake between that actually has led to current changes on the departmental committees within the parliament and the reviews, which have now thrown away former majority leader and is rewarding him with another committee. It's a demotion either way, but I think also to the coalition partners or the handshake partners with the Jubilee Party, they seems to be worried a lot because what they expected with the reward they expected from this reshuffle, it seems not to come out the way they expected them. Looks like they supported Uhuru before setting up certain demands. And in one way or the other it worked because we saw Uhuru actually crossing over from his deputy, and you've seen the changes that he has been doing, the hard tackles. But when the coalition partners opted to start making demands, which currently I think looks like they've started discussing 2022, because I heard minority leader asking that they may allow Raila Odinga to run for one term, an indicator of 2022 discussion, which they've been avoiding all this while. And the moment they begin mentioning 2022, you've seen Uhuru actually, when they thought Uhuru was going to kick the ladder so that Uhuru hung on their side without falling back, then Uhuru has begun again playing and warming up to his deputy, which is quite a dangerous politics. They are playing with one another.
Yeah.
Because looks like when they start laying demands on the table, Uhuru has chosen to play around. And this shows, and to me, is an indicator that the BBI expectation may not see the day and the light of the day.
Yeah.
If this relationship continues the way it's continuing. And as I told Kenyans earlier, sometimes treachery begets treachery. Love begets love. Tyranny begets tyranny. Kindness begets kindness. And Linda, this is what flows even in the relationship within the political parties. If you see lack of clarity where a deputy secretary general is questioning the secretary general and even the authenticity or the availability of party documents, it leaves you asking a number of questions because there's no trust, there's no clarity, there's no transparency. And these are strange bedfellows who come together for purposes of their own selfish interest. And these are the things that actually have shifted their goalpost. So the alliances which you cannot count on, their formation of political parties are not driven by ideologies. And these are the issues that actually have made them to fall out very easily, because when you are driven by ideology, it is a vision that unites you, that a call for collective responsibility, because a vision cannot be achieved individually. And these are the challenges. When I sat back and supported the BBI report, because the BBI reports entirely had just two issues of governance. That is the premiership and the electoral reforms. But over and above, the other abstract issues that they were discussing, some were very good because they are beginning to discuss the national narratives, national ethos, national visions. And the moment you start discussing the national visions, then all of us collectively begins to appreciate the significance of one another, and you start handling each other with love, with mercy, with care, with justice, not always this Machiavellian deceit manipulation, conniving, stealing here, destroying there. It's the culture that everybody is investing, then I assure them that is what they will beget.
Yeah. And now, speaking of, taking care of us and just having a peaceful coexistence and minding about others, indeed, the government has been mindful enough to roll out the second phase of Kazim Mtaani initiative. And many youths across the country are still grappling with unemployment despite that. This amid the government promising to factor in 207,000 young persons for the 10 billion national hygiene program. This follows mass sackings that have affected many Kenyans since March, when COVID-19 first hit the country. David Muthoka brings us that report, and we come back to weigh in on the same.
Babadogo slums in Nairobi are literally an estate with a new face. The fresh start here, courtesy of the Kazim Mtaani initiative, is however nothing to smile about for the thousands of residents here who claim to have been left out of the program. The second phase of the National Hygiene Program that was launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta a week ago seeks to employ up to 270,000 youths, a significant upgrade from the previous 31,689. Amid the upgrade, tens of residents from Babadogo have criticized the criteria used in enrolling youth from the slums into the initiative. The criteria has seen them plunge into further despair, having not been selected to participate in the initiative that would have seen them earn 455 shillings a day. In Kariadudu Estate, we stumble upon Edith Akinyi, hobnobbing with her peers. Having successfully applied for the second phase of Kazim Mtaani, the mother of one knew it was a matter of time before she bid her state of joblessness goodbye. To her shock, she still remains a statistic among those who never met the cutoff.
Sasa kama tunaenda huko, tunapelekwa huku, tuende Korokocho, siju tuende la Kisama tuangalie jina.
A few blocks ahead is Rose Anyango, a mother of two, another jobless corner here, seemingly gaining traction. She laments of not being among those chosen, despite applying for the now much sought after occupation.
Niliapply kazi, ile results zilikuja, nimeenda kufuatilia, naambiwa hakuna.
The doom and gloom cuts across gender. And for Kevin Omondi, another resident, it is shocking not to know of anyone within their community who will benefit from Kazim Mtaani.
Tungependa sana kujua juu wenzetu wanakuwa nalia sana njaa, matumizi ya pesa hakuna. Though kuna pesa tunaambiwa ilikuja za Kazim Mtaani ya vijana.
And for those who are successfully selected, they are still unaware on when and where to report for duty.
Alichukua namba yangu ya simu, akachukua ID yangu, akaniambia niko kwa hiyo shift nyingine. Na siko sure shift nyingine iko.
Grace Law, an assistant Nyumba Kumi leader here, has now been left with the hefty burden of explaining to the tens of her residents why not even a single person among the 61 she had forwarded their names was picked for Kazim Mtaani. Local administrators have, however, defended the selection, saying the initiative will carry out phasing in the enrollment to cater for as many applicants as possible. In Trans Nzoia County, youth from Saboti and Kiminini constituencies were among the 4,103 youth selected as Kazim Mtaani kicked off in the county on Tuesday. Youth from other sub-counties have, however, decried discrimination.
Tumeshangaa kazi jatupata sisi huku, si tuko tu hivi kuhangaika tu kwa puya kutembea tu.
For the many youth here who had the hope of giving back to the society, well, at a cost through the Kazim Mtaani initiative, that hope is now basically ink on a piece of paper tucked inside some cabinet. This, another classic case of so few slots for so many jobless people. David Muthoka, TV47 at Babadogo, Nairobi.
Thanks, Muthoka, for that. And looking at that story reminds us of the numerous programs, of course, under devolution or in matters NYS and so much so. So before we get to Lupio Daktari to react on the same, let's pick this story. And Kirinyaga MCAs have started to collect signatures from residents in a bid to dissolve the Governor Anne Waiguru-led administration. This comes days after the Senate dismissed an impeachment motion against the embattled governor.
kama MC wa Kirinyaga tumesema kwamba imetosha na tuwezi vumilia tena, na kwa hivyo kwa sababu gavana wetu sasa imefika mahali hasikizi mtu yoyote, hata afuati sheria kabisa. Sisi tunasema na kauli moja kama MC wa Kirinyaga, kufa dereva, kufa makanga.
Sisi hatuna shida na mtu, lakini tunataka hii county iwe dissolved, kwa sababu hata wakati tuko huku hakuna kazi inafanyika. Pesa tunapeana kwa budget, tunasema wandi sifanyiwe kazi. Kama kwangu hakuna kazi imefanywa for the last 2.5 years.
All right, that brings me to that story, and I think it's captured on the People Daily page too. Let's see whether we can have a hold of it. Yes, here we are. And Kirinyaga MCAs now seek residents to nod to dissolve the county. Brings me also to the front page where there's this story of Charity Keliku Ngilu, and Ngilu has the last laugh as accusers have vanished in thin air. Also captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper, and expounded some more on the People Daily page 8. Daktari, first to react on the Kazi Mtaani aspect and how it reminds us of the issues of NYS and how much of a scandal they were. Just how genuine is this Kazi Mtaani, and of how much impact will it be to the youths as it stands today? Briefly, as we cross over to the issues that are taking center stage in counties in terms of talks of impeachment of the leaders and the governors there.
Oh, it's one approach that the government is using right now to mitigate corona relief and the pressure that serious job losses have caused. Yeah. And last time I had an activity with PS who is in charge, that is Charles Hinga. Mm-hmm. And I remember I did ask him how the total population that they have supported or they have enrolled. I think it was about a month ago. And by then, naturally, they engaged 20,000 youth. And of course, Linda, you rather work and get some food, but any job also should come with the dignity and the status of whoever is doing it. I can't imagine a degree holder going to, with dignity, to sweep and cut the grass to get food. It is a suitable option. Of course, as you mentioned about NYS, we saw where it landed. But this one, when he mentioned that only 20,000 vis-a-vis a population of 47 million, who over 60%, actually 65% of it are youth, if you are only addressing 20,000 and looking at the total amount of money that actually have been actually they are saying to have spent, then yes, we can have a reason to be worried. We can have a reason to be concerned, and more our concern can be worse than even the NYS, because you cannot allocate billions and the return, because I said earlier that activity is not an accomplishment. We may see few activities of 20,000 youths.
All right.
And the amount of money that is alleged to be invested in them vis-a-vis what we expected. Because if I was to advise the government, the focus of the government was to find out mechanisms to make sure that no one loses their jobs. Yeah. Number one, maintain those jobs. Then if we were to talk of creating more, then it will make sense. But right now, the job losses have surpasses over 1 million plus.
Right.
If we are losing more than you are creating, and whatever you are creating actually is even just a drop in the ocean, and at a basic remittance, which actually cannot change anybody's life.
All right.
The policy the government should have focused on to date was to look at economic mitigative measures, have tax holidays, reduce fuel cost, go easy on the land rates,
right?
Give some incentives and boost, like now the tourism, the transport sectors, essentials areas of our economy, give them certain reliefs so that we focus on jobs that have integrity, not just these jobs that they're actually, this sweeping and cutting grass is not sustainable. It cannot run an economy.
All right, Daktari. And I think on that note, I'm afraid we might not be able to delve deep into understanding what has happened at the level of counties in terms of the talks of an impeachment. But as it is a relief for Ngilu after ward representatives stopped the Oster move. Some of them have gone MIA. Anyway, let's take a short break. And of course, we'll be back with the current affairs issues. Thank you so much, Dr. Justice Juma, for the great insights. After this break, we are back with more.
You're welcome.